We're here this afternoon talking to Lisa Baines, who is the Labour Party candidate in Thirsk and Malton constituency. If you're elected, Lisa, what do you think would be your top priorities to protect and restore the natural environment in our constituency in Thirsk and Malton?
That's a difficult question because there's quite a lot. So what I'll do is I'll take them in kind of a sequence. I think the first and most important thing in the constituency specifically is to sort out our waterways. I think the sewage dumping, the illegal sewage dumping that's been done by the water companies is horrific. It's damaging nature, it's damaging wildlife, it's leading to unclean rivers that mean that people who go wild swimming are contracting illnesses. It's not acceptable, and I think that's the top priority. And I think that one of the biggest issues for me, particularly in terms of the waterways and how unclean they are, is that affects the wildlife that lives in the river, such as dragonflies, damselflies, other insects that live in the water, and that is a massive issue in terms of the habitat, because if you break one link in the food chain, if you break one link in the ecological chain, then everything else suffers as a result. So it's important that that's not overlooked.
It's difficult to sometimes get the balance right, isn't it, between land use for food security on the one hand, growing crops, land use for nature restoration, and land use to produce energy. How do you see the balance there?
Okay, I think it's important that we look at how land is being used presently. We have to make sure that we're striking the right balance. I think we need to look at the land that's being used for food production. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be continued to be used for food production. Food security is important in terms of making sure that we're producing food here reduces food miles for a start. Also, the more food that we produce, the less vulnerable we are to sudden shocks of prices increasing, such as with grain imports. The more food that we produce in this country, the better. We have to make sure there's a market for it as well, but it leads to reduced prices for everybody. So that's best for our economy. We need to make sure that we're consulting properly with people. We are committed to introducing renewables, both wind and solar, but we would never, ever want to do that without consulting with people properly. So I think that the most important thing is to make sure that land, where there needs to be a change of use or where there is proposed to be a change of use, that communities are properly engaged in that process. And, you know, I don't think we're certainly not about imposing things on people, not right. What the Labour Party is. So we would make sure that any change of use was properly consulted on. In terms of nature, we are blessed with having the North York Moors and a lot of wild countryside, and that is fantastic. I enjoy going out there myself, and I think it's important that we keep that and we preserve that in the strongest terms. The protections that we have need to be respected and maintained.
See, as with all political decisions, taking the public with you on climate and nature policy is crucial. So really interested to know how you would achieve that and whether you would start with what you think people will accept or with what the science says is necessary.
I think there's no reason that the two things, the two kind of sides of that should be at odds with each other. I think that people make the choices that they can afford to make, right? People will buy what they can afford to buy. Prices have been going up, or our energy bills have been going up. Every time we go food shopping, it seems to be a bit more expensive than the last time. And unfortunately, not everyone's in a position where they have a lot of choices in terms of what comes in and what they have to spend. We have not been shy about saying that net zero by 2030 will lead to 650,000 new jobs, new green jobs in a new green economy. We've not been shy about that. We've also not been shy about saying that we want to be a global green energy superpower, renewable energy superpower, so we can maybe export some of that energy in the future as well. We've not been shy about that. That will reduce people's bills and it'll help grow our economy. And if we're just making sure that people are aware of that from day one, which, as I said, we already are doing by making sure that we're saying what the benefits are before we implement the policy, people will come with us.
Yeah, so I suppose, you know, really keen to hear kind of your closing thoughts and message. Is there anything that you would like to finish off on?
Well, I know that Labour, we are completely committed to the portfolio of policies that we've put out there in terms of protecting the environment. It is one of my top priorities. I'm a long-time member of the RSPB, so I kind of come at this with a nature and wildlife head. It's a topic that really interests me, and it's particularly a topic that my 10-year-old daughter is very, very passionate about. So you can trust that I'm already held to account on any decision making about the environment by one of the two most important people in my life, which is my children. And it's for them that we have to make sure that we're being as responsible as possible when it comes to the decision making on the environment, because it's for our children, it's for our grandchildren. The decisions we make now will have an impact on them in decades to come. So we have to make sure we're making the right decisions. I think the Labour's national policy on the environment is very, very well publicised, and you can trust that you'd be in safe hands with me as your MP representing Thirsk and Malton, making sure that the environment is one of my top priorities in every decision, always.